You know what it is it's that part of you that's like, just no one knows I'm still a fucking child. And I just have this family and I'm a fucking little boy and I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, we had our Christmas tree in our backyard for 6 months, just laying there.
Okay, so let's record the intro now.
So what did Milkless? Because I think we start with the name.
Two dads, we love our kids, but then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey, hey, Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take. On this episode of the podcast, it's part 2 of a 2-parter. Top 10 things Max and I don't like about parenting and some ways to try to make them a little better. What is it they say to get you to stick around on the internet? Number 1 will blow your fucking mind. Let's go. Number 5. I fucking hate how hard it is to hang out with people. There's the naps. There's the real thing of the naps. There's the fatigue. There's the everybody's sick. That is like it's a hassle. But then I think there's another little piece of it, which is like people are just assed out and the activation energy to go see their friends feels like a lot. Mm-hmm. And I get it, but I want to make a PSA for fucking pushing through. Cause like we're not meant to just be with our little tiny nuclear families in our single family homes by ourselves. It fucks with our heads.
Oh, humans need a village for sure.
We need our friends so hard.
Yeah. Hanging out with friends are literally the same thing as like how you don't want to work out when you wake up. But no one in the history of anything has ever like not liked a workout or not been like, you know what? Hanging out with those friends was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always awesome. And you know what you always say after? We should do this more often.
See you in 6 months. Yeah. Yeah. It's fucking rough. Yeah. And the realities of it are actually hard. I remember I had this recently with a buddy of mine, Stu, who lives down the road, and they have a little baby boy who just turned 1 like a week ago. Happy birthday, dude. Anyways, Stu is like, a lifelong friend of mine. He is Uncle Stu to my kids. And we see each other, I'd say probably 2 or 3 times a month. And I always feel like, God, it should be more than that. We should see each other like twice a week because they don't live that far away. Mm-hmm. But I remember one time trying to make plans on Saturday and we were both really earnest about it. And we just like, between all the different times people were having naps and the person that had a runny nose and it just like, oh, there really is not a moment of the day that this works. So it is real. Mm-hmm. But any part of it that's not real, push through that shit and make it work.
Also, just like, I'm not a good long-term planner. You and I are both very spontaneous. But when you do those longer term, you know what? This person we haven't hung out with in a while, mm-hmm. You can always schedule some Saturday afternoon hangout in 3 weeks.
And then the other thing that I think is good is the standing thing. Like we have a standing group of people. Hey, everybody, the default is we meet here on Sunday. And then 3/4 of them can't make it, but you see a few people.
Number 4. I think this is well known among parents who've been around the block for a while. I fucking hate being hungover with kids. And if you have young kids, babies, or you don't have kids yet, and you're listening to this for some reason, it's the worst thing that you can ever do to yourself. And we know this. But every once in a while, it'll be something like, hey, it's New Year's, man. Come on. It's, kids have been so good lately. I can have a little headache. I can be a little, tomorrow. But being hungover around kids is, I think it's many people's version of hell.
Yeah, they don't care that you are.
The solution for it is don't do it. But then the other solution is if you are, get out of the house. Be outside.
Yeah.
Because your adrenaline response kicks in.
Yeah.
If you are, and this is what I do or people do most of the time, is you just lay on the couch and you have like an assed out day. Well, guess what? Double whammy. You probably feel worse and the kids are going to be all up your ass all day.
Yeah.
Get out to the playground. You go to the library. You go for a hike. You feel better. The kid feels better. And you're not like a complete lump.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in such a situation.
The adrenaline thing is real. one of the worst hangovers I ever had. I was in Austin and I had to go home for the holidays, and I was like worried I was going to like puke on a family member because I was just so roughed up. And I was just getting on the road out of Austin, and I look, and on the side of this road, there's this guy just beating this other guy with a PVC pipe. And I was like, holy shit. And there's just all these cars going past. And so I pull over, and there's one other guy that's pulled over. So we're like, hey, dude, we're calling the cops. And he like gets up, and their car is parked there with the doors open. There's just Christian music just blasting out of it, like the bad Christian music.
Yeah. And
then he's like, I'm going to whoop your ass. And then the cops showed up and they arrested him, and he yelled a bunch of other stuff. And they were brothers, it turned out. But my hangover was gone.
Oh, yeah.
It evaporated. I drove to Houston happy as a clam. It was amazing. So if you can line up something like that for your kids and you and your kids, you're doing it together.
I think bumfights.com is not online anymore. And I think it was illegal to begin with.
The cops were like, get down on the ground. He's like, I got bad knees. It was just real good. Jesus. The whole thing was real good. Oh, my God. Number 3. Here's one thing I don't like about being a fucking parent is that my to-do list grows faster than it shrinks. The shit I need to do around my house, the stuff that needs fixing, the stuff in my yard, the stuff with my vehicle registration. It's like I'm always feel like I'm behind, and it sucks. It's not a good feeling, and I think we lie to ourselves and like when I clear the decks, I'm gonna blank.
Yeah,
it's like your decks will not be clear. My parents' decks are finally clear because they've both been retired for like 9 years. Mm-hmm. And my dad still finds things to worry about.
Yeah.
I think that I am having to like just be okay with the fact that some things are just not going to happen soon.
Yeah.
And then try to like really say, okay, I'm going to try to do this then and this then and this then. Because otherwise I feel like I should be doing all of them every day.
Yeah, no, I feel that way all the time as well. I mean, we could take a page out of your book. What you said earlier is you just give up.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Like, honestly, and I'm being slightly facetious, but slightly truthful. There's certain things that when you really take stock of it are not important. You don't need to answer certain emails. You can just never respond to them. Like, and then people are like, are you going to respond to this? And you just don't ever. There's certain things that we can give ourselves a pass for. And I think there are certain things in business or in life where society or we put pressure on them. We're like, oh, those always get done. And those always get done first.
Yeah.
Like some people have to clear their inbox. Mine has 34,770.
Oh my God. That makes me uncomfortable just hearing it.
How much time do you waste like clearing your inbox, like unsubscribing from Petco? How did I get on this email list? I got to unclick or click. Which ones do I unclick and then I click? That's how I get unsubscribed from Petco. God. And guess what? That took you a minute and a half.
Yeah.
90 seconds. You'll never get back. As opposed to me, I just look at a Petco email every day for the rest of my life. No, I don't know if I have the solution here, but
but I think like some of what you're saying is like what I'm having to get comfortable with is there are even some things that just aren't happening that I feel like are important. Like there's a big brush pile at the bottom of my yard, and like that's not smart. There's fires around here, but that's like 3 days. I can't do it. And it's going to cost like $1 million to do because it's like at the bottom of our yard where nobody can get to. Like I need to do that.
But what if you just never did?
What if I just never did? What if I never in my whole life did? It'd be fucking fine.
And what if it just disintegrated and got eaten by bacteria and fungi in 50 years?
Yeah, it's my dog's favorite place to hunt. Maybe part of the solution is like the thing I just said is the thing you say to yourself, which is like, I'm leaving a fire hazard at the bottom of my yard. There needs to be another voice in your head that is like, but what all else have you done today? Do you really have time for that? And what if it just never happened?
Right. Because I think also what we do is we never have that conversation. And then the brush pile, we think about it like 4 times a day. And every time you get a pang of anxiety in your throat, it's like, brush pile. It keeps coming up. It's like you got to almost give yourself permission after you haven't done it for like a day, 2 days, 3 days. It's like, you know what? I'm never going to fucking do that.
Yeah.
But if you were like, you know what? I ain't got shit to do. I could use it as a workout, sweat my ass off, have my daughter out there playing with me and the dog. I'm going to do it this 3-day weekend. But that's a proactive choice as opposed to something you need to do that you're neglecting that's going to make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you got to let go of the idea that you're neglecting them or that you're I think the thing that I get into is I feel irresponsible. And some of that, it was like my brother was the kid that made straight A's and I was the kid that like made A's if I was interested and fucked right off and forgot his homework otherwise.
That was you?
No, I wasn't like a problem child. I just like, I was forgetful and I would like.
You still went to Brown with that? You must be like extra smart because you not trying still got to Brown. The
thing was when my brother left for college, I kind of like got my shit together because I was like, oh, I could be the smart one.
The smartman? The
smartman. So I think in my family of origin, I was kind of like part of the story when we were young was that I was the like more irresponsible, flaky one. And so having these things on my to-do list makes me feel that way. But it's like really what you need to do is remind yourself of all the other things you did that day, all of which needed to happen, which were responsible choices. And it's like, yeah, that just got deprioritized because I ain't got time for it right now.
And also just like try to not put so much pressure on yourself.
You know what it is it's that part of you that's like, just no one knows I'm still a fucking child and I just have this family and I'm a fucking little boy and I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. Right? That's the voice that is like, and brush pile at the bottom of the fucking thing. And you're like, God damn it.
I think also just like, if you picture the authority of moral rectitude coming in, like the big Texan man of the world coming and saying, oh, you didn't burn your brush pile there, son.
Yeah.
You're a boy.
Yeah. And all those people are my neighbors because they're all retired, like old.
Can they see your brush pile?
No, it's hidden. It's literally like at the bottom of the hill in the back corner of our property.
So they'll never see it. Well, we had our Christmas tree in our backyard for 6 months, just laying there.
That's great. Yeah. I remember this woman came over to our house once and she was the wife of a guy that worked for me. And we have these like planters that, you plant whatever herbs. Mm-hmm. And she like looked in them and she's like, I'm so glad that those are just filled with weeds because I feel like I can talk to you people now. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, they are. They still are. Got a couple of planters filled with weeds. And maybe they always will be. And that's okay.
This episode is brought to you by Violet Archer in the Case of the Purple Martin. It's a chapter book with illustrations on every page. You can read it to them if they're 5, 6-year-olds, but then as soon as they can read up till 12, 13, it's an insanely good book with plot twists like worthy of an adult's attention. I love this thing. I'm so proud of Matt and Milkless of putting this thing out. So if you want to support Milkless and get an awesome book for your kids, it'd mean a whole lot to us if you bought it. Check the podcast description for the link to Amazon and buy it today. And if you already have it, you can pop back into Amazon and give us an honest review. Thanks. Okay, number 2. I hate the dynamic when the younger child wants something that the older child has. Let's say older child comes home from school with a lollipop from some birthday party. Younger child sees it. It's like, oh, I want it. Can I have it? Like we're talking 3 or 4-year-old at this point. Mm-hmm. And the older child, it's theirs, right? I hate that dynamic because you're just totally fucked. Because you don't want to steal it from the older child. It's theirs. And then the younger child, you need to teach them that like they can't just have everything in their life. Mm-hmm. But it's just kind of fucked. Now, here's something that I found. I found a study that looked at different cultures. There was one culture. I cannot find the study right now. Apologies. If we find it, we'll post it later. But in those cultures, the older siblings always gave it to the younger child, which is so strange to me because you don't want to raise a spoiled kid, validate this bad behavior of like whining and getting everything in life. But I guess like they never really had whining or crying about that lollipop because the older siblings would just always give it to the younger one.
Interesting.
So I don't know what the dynamic is, but I have been known to sometimes after hearing that study about 3 weeks ago, going to the 6-year-old and just being like, bro, can you give me that get out of jail free card, bro? Can you just do it? Can you just give it to And I don't know the right answer, but I just know that I fucking hate that dynamic. Yeah. Because there's almost like a lose-lose situation. Yeah. And then you don't want to be like, oh, I'll go to the store and get you a lollipop. I'll dance for you.
I know. Well, yeah, clearly not. Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah, we have that already. I mean, our 18-month-old, just with like being interested in toys that my oldest daughter's playing with. It's tough because the older kid is more able to make the mature decision Younger kid at our 18-month-old isn't really able to do it at all. So it's like, hey, older kid, you could give that to her and you'll be a little annoyed, but you will find something else to play with in 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Or the 18-month-old can just scream bloody fucking murder and I'll pick her up and hold her because she's so goddamn sad.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes that is the right choice because otherwise you're like, to me, that thing that the oldest kid always just gives to the youngest kid, I don't know. I mean, maybe if that's the way like everyone does it and it's culturally ingrained, but I just can't imagine as an oldest kid thinking that's that cool. Like that's my lollipop.
Yeah.
The fuck. But I do sometimes go to the older kid and be like, how do you feel about just hooking it up? And she'll do it. She'll do it. If it's not that important, she'll do it. And some of that is that they're 5 years apart, I think helps.
Yeah.
And then sometimes she'll be like, no, that's my favorite stuffed animal. And she's going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, all right, well, it's time to hear a baby scream.
You know what? It just made me think of something that we do actually in this situation. I took it from Guy Kawasaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But he was saying that whenever you're really down or really whatever, just give. And if you give, like it will just come back around to you, which so I tell the kids, I'm like, look, sometimes when you give, you get. And when they're super young, they think that's literal.
Get what?
Like, oh, I'll give this lollipop. I'm just going to get one. But if they give like completely altruistically and just completely dissolve the situation to help the family and help me, I will then spend the next few minutes like thinking of a way to like make it right.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's like, hey, do you want to go on a trip with me? Like you and I are going to go do something and have just you and me time. Or, you know, maybe I did realize like I had a ring pop in my sock drawer. I don't want to have it be like, just give her the fucking thing. I'll go get you the fucking ring pop. I've been stashing in my undie drawer.
Yeah.
I just like if you give, you get. And sometimes I don't have anything to give, but I'm like, I'll keep that in my mind. Like the universe needs to make that right with that kid.
Yeah.
But then they just they're somewhat accustomed to like when you give, you get.
Yeah. And you're going to be just in you're going to have the kind of siblings where you give each other lollipops.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the kind of bros you want to be. All right. The number one thing I hate most about parenting is myself, but not really, but kind of. I just think that this is a phase of life where you fail so often, pretty spectacularly sometimes, and you get the immediate feedback when you blow it from your kids. It's like when you're learning to drive stick.
Yeah.
And like anytime you fuck it up, it's just like, it just fucking shakes you around.
And then the car dies.
And then the car dies and you have to like start it over humiliatingly. It feels like that a lot as a parent. But here's what I do about that. One of my favorite parenting quotes of all time was this guy I knew real well. He was a musician. He's a great musician, but he was a troubled dude, and he struggled with a lot of things. And then kind of late in life, he had a kid. I remember the next time I saw him, he just seemed like this totally different human, just really like he had it together. And I was like, dude, how's fatherhood treating you? This was before I had any kids. And she had this funny way of talking. He's like, oh, man, it's so good. I don't even have time to hate myself. And I don't think that's quite right. I think you can still find time to hate yourself. You can really beat yourself up as a parent. But I think what he meant was he's like, I don't have time to be the guy who's hating himself. That's a disservice to my family to walk around as the guy that hates himself.
Yeah.
I can't afford that like indulgence. He's onto something. You got to hold yourself to a high standard as a dad, I think. And you really want to be expecting excellence of yourself. But you also... your family can't afford to have you be the guy that's walking around kicking his own ass all the time.
Yeah.
And I have trouble with that. I'm pretty critical of myself. I recently told my wife, I was like, yeah, I think probably the most unhealthy thing I do is not sleeping. And she goes, yeah, that and the way you talk to yourself. It's like, oh man, sick burn. But also she meant it with all compassion. She was like, you're too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
But I've really got to work on that because it doesn't help anybody to drag it with you.
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of the stuff that's, I think, good out there, you know, on social media for mothers about like really trying to combat the, you know, mom guilt, self-loathing, stuff like that about not being good enough, living up to standards. But you said it on a good social media post like recently, just like we're asking more of parents than we ever have in the history of parents.
Yeah.
The correct way to parent just takes so much time. I mean, the more things we uncover on this podcast about like, hey, what should we do about lying? I used to just fucking scream at my kids about it. Now it's like, oh shit, like they're just learning about empathy. Oh man. So now when they lie, that's like a teaching moment that takes 45 minutes.
Yeah,
as opposed to just like putting him in timeout for 5 minutes and fucking screaming at him.
What did Sean Connery say? Just a swift slap with the back of the hand.
Yeah, so it's like, and dads, especially like coming from the 1950s dad we reference, like there's a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I think like also just reminding ourselves, and I'll say it to you because I say it to myself all the time. Maybe you don't say it to yourself enough. You're fucking crushing it, Matt. Like you're an amazing dad. And I think a lot of the listeners out there are like super into how you parent and how you do it. And like, I want to be like you. So like, just remember that when you're, thinking about your brush pile laying in bed.
Yeah.
You're doing great. And I have underwear stacked next to me in my hamper right there, like stacked literally almost as high as my head. I have been known to buy more underwear to avoid doing laundry. So
that's good shit.
You're doing just fine, kid. You're doing great. You're doing more than fine.
Thanks for saying that. It's like, it's another one of those things. It's like, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your family. Like, I don't think it helps my family when I'm being really hard on myself.
Yeah.
I'm not a better dad. Like one analogy, because it's weird. I think the thing that I have trouble holding is like, you want to learn from your mistakes, but not dwell in them,
Right.
And like hold yourself to a high standard, but not beat the shit out of yourself. They talk a lot about like really good NFL quarterbacks have very short memories. They throw an interception, but they come out the next drive and they don't play tentatively.
Yeah.
But really good quarterbacks also learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And they get better. So they somehow manage to have like a short emotional memory, but a very like long and useful and adaptive, like experiential memory and an ability to like change. And so I think that's maybe kind of the balance. You just got to be Tommy Brady out there.
Tommy Brady kid. But yeah, I mean, I feel that way. I think you described me perfectly. I can't believe you realize that I moonlight as a pro quarterback. But like, look, I fuck up constantly. And I do feel bad during the apology or whatever if I yell at the kids. But then I'm immediately right into like, how can we fix that next time? Chat with you about it. We kind of game plan about it, talk with my partner about it. And we're like, okay, how can we fix this going forward? And then it's just fucking gone. Poof.
Yeah.
It's gone.
But you do make changes when something goes really badly and like think about it.
Yeah.
But it's not from a place of like, oh, I'm such a piece of shit, which is ultimately like a self-indulgent place to come from. It just doesn't help anybody.
And when you fuck up, it's like everybody fucks up. If you're like crushing it on love and affection and a safe home, they feel worthy of love, but you fucking lose it on them when they lie to you. It's like, who cares? Just work on it. Try to get better. Don't fucking lose it next time.
Start the clock now, because you can, starting now, do it differently every time. But in order to do that, you need to both learn from that thing and then also let it go.
Yeah.
Because if you're dragging it along with you every time, it's like,
oh, it's too much baggage.
Ball and chain.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
Well, I was kind of being silly saying I hate myself, but I think people will know what I mean. I think there is a lot of room as a parent to be really hard on yourself about stuff.
Yeah. And I think like I am the cause of most of the problems in my kids' lives,
Right. Yeah.
But I also think I am, me and my partner are the largest contributors of joy and why they're so amazing.
Yeah.
Because we are everything to them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But that's what's so brutal, because when you see your kids struggle with something, you're like, well, one way or another, that's because of me.
Yeah.
But then also when they're amazing, it's the same thing. That's right. And I think that's honestly what I mean when I say I hate myself, is like, I hate my own fallibility. I hate how often I don't live up to my own expectations. I hate learning about my limits.
Or learning the right way and then being like, I know how to nail this. And then yet we still walk into doors and step on rakes.
Yeah.
And fucking scream at our kids every once in a while. It's like,
just score in our own goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just human fallibility. And I really think until you have kids, I just hadn't found my limits like that.
Not like this. Like this is the amount we're quote failing on a daily basis is very strange.
Yeah. That's right. And the inability to get a fucking hold of yourself, just to like be in a situation where you're like, I don't want to get mad. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. Here I go. Getting mad. This is it. It's going to happen. It's not going to be good. And then I'm going to do it anyways. That is like, it's fucking surprising to me every time.
But I honestly think that like we always just compare our blooper reel to everyone else's highlight reel, especially with social media. There is no such thing as a perfect person. Everyone has fallibility in some way or another. It's like, just be better than average.
I think that's totally right. I don't think that like other people are in their houses having like perfect moments of every single day. I just am annoyed with the whole situation. I think we should be able to do it better.
Yeah. Well, we're working on it. We're trying.
We're trying our best.
We're trying. That's all.
Yeah.
Dude, we're both just doing it, and we're not doing crystal meth. We're not hitting our kids, and we show them love and affection, and they know that they're worthy of love. And I'm telling you, when you see people and on paper, they're like, oh my God, they're like so healthy and they exercise and they're so nice to their kids and like everything's just like so perfect. They have a fucking dungeon in their basement. No one is perfect.
If there aren't weeds growing in their planters, do not go in their basement.
I'm just saying, like, everyone has something.
Yeah.
Even if like someone who's like, wow, they don't ever yell at their kids or whatever, it's like,
well, and like maybe somebody who is that incredibly even keeled is less able to really demonstrably express emotion. When you said earlier that you make the best parts of your kids and you also create their biggest struggles, those are usually just different sides of the same coin.
yeah,
My daughter has some anxiety, so do I. We also just are fucking exuberant and can make up stories like nobody's business. I wish I could give her one without the other, but I don't think that's a thing.
and I think that that's just not a way to think about it. What it is straight up, the only thing that matters is love. Are you creating a safe space for them where they feel love, where their parents love them? That's it. Everything else is gravy. When you grow up, are the kids going to say that you love them? That my parents were there for me? Okay, you lost it. You did something bad. You punched a hole in a wall. When your kids grow up, are they going to say, yeah, my dad loved me so much. He was always there for me. Oh, did he ever get mad? Yeah, he punched a hole in a wall one time. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Well, yeah, one of my favorite stories, I won't say who it is because he might be embarrassed, but he was in a parking lot with his boy and his son was driving him crazy and he just got so fed up. He turned to his son and yelled, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, as he was telling me this, he's like, I can't believe I said it. And he said there was like, his son got this look on his face for just a second, and then they both just fucking died laughing. And it's like, I love that because it's like, that's not what you want to say, but it's like you're allowed to fuck up if your son knows that he's safe and you love him.
Brilliant.
I think we did it.
Yeah.
Maybe got a little heavy towards the end, but hey,
Yeah.
we're sensitive guys.
When we pull on a string, if it keeps going, we pull, I guess.
It's not even really up to us where it leads. We just follow it.
True artists.
Thanks for coming on this journey with us. God, I'm so fucking tired of people talking about journeys.
Oh,
If I hear one more person talk about their journey.
eat fucking shit.
So aggressive.
Brought to you by Violet Archer.